So this is video 4 for week 7, and I'm starting at slide 18. So now that you know that you're going to design your workshop series or tutorial series or whatever, so that you think about what the learning outcome is, and you have to make all of these little learning activities. Well, you want to make sure those little learning activities that are going to teach them or help them achieve your learning outcome, you want to make sure that they're accessible. Okay, if you're required to create training materials for coworkers or clients, or help your coworkers or clients with their IT problems, it's important to make sure your training materials and your one-on-one support are inclusive and accessible so that everyone being trained or learning how to do the skill has an equitable opportunity to learn and achieve success. Okay? So this isn't just a nice idea. In a lot of cases, this is a law. And the law in Ontario that governs this is AODA. Okay, so that's Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. And it requires that you make sure that all those training materials are accessible. So you'll notice down in the notes I talk about how can you make the IT help desk, right, whether it's physical or virtual, and the related training accessible for all your clients. And I've written down some of the things that you might do. So now we're going to look at some of the different things you might not know about, like learning disabilities, learning challenges, things that make it hard for people to learn, and think about how you can make sure your materials are accessible to them. So what do you see in this picture? So lots of children have trouble remembering if this is a B, a P, a D, or a Q. If they still have trouble when they're an adult and it impacts their ability to understand what they read, they might have a developmental learning disorder or disability. So note that those are not anything about intelligence. It's just a learning disorder. So this is a little strategy sometimes we use is the word bed helps us remember which way the B goes and which way the D goes. So if you do it wrong, it's pretty uncomfortable. And here's another one. Do you need, if I ask you to close your eyes, and then I say, what comes before J in the alphabet? Do you have to sing the alphabet song before you can tell me? Okay. Or do you have struggles with your left and your right? Do you understand what it means to scroll down and scroll up? These can all be really tricky, challenging concepts for people with a learning disability. So I've got a link here that we'll explore in class time. So what are developmental disorders or disorders and disabilities? And what are some examples of them? So you might recognize a few of them, but there might be some surprises in here or for you to understand. So I want you to take a few minutes to look at this. And why are we worried about that? Well, 14% of children, also known as people, have an identified learning disability. That means they've actually been clinically diagnosed by a medical or healthcare professional. But there's lots of people that don't have a medical diagnosis that actually have a disability. So at some point, it's likely someone using your training resource or someone requiring assistance will be a person with a developmental disorder or learning disability. So if you can make your training accessible to them, it'll save everybody a lot of grief. So what I'm going to do is get you to look at these Quizlet cards, okay, and play the matching game to make sure that you understand some of these different learning disabilities in different terms.